Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, "It is He, the perfect Spirit, who fills all. The perfect Spirit fills all. It is He who fills all." Who is He? The perfect Spirit. It is He, the perfect Spirit, who fills all. It is the Lord who sets all in motion from the depths of the being. It is His will that directs, His force that acts. At the service of the divine we are. It is the divine who decides, ordains, and puts in motion, directs, and accomplishes the action. Who has made the divine? Himself. With my blessings, says our Divine Mother. Words of our Divine Mother from the collective works of our Divine Mother, question and answers of 1930-31, topic Selfless Admiration. Our Divine Mother says, people are so unwilling to recognize anything that expresses the divine that they are ever on the alert to find fault, discover apparent defects, and so reduce what is high to their own level. They are simply furious at being suppressed, and when they do succeed in finding superficial shortcomings, they are greatly pleased. But they forget that if they confront even the divine when its presence is on the earth with their crude physical mind, they are bound to meet only what is crude. They cannot hope to see what they are themselves incapable of seeing or unwilling to see. They are sure to misjudge the divine if they consider the surface aspect of its actions, for they will never understand what seems similar to human activity is yet altogether dissimilar and proceeds from a source which is non-human. Our Divine Mother says, the divine manifesting itself for the work on earth appears to act as men do, but really does not. It is not possible to evaluate the divine by such standards of the obvious and the apparent. But men are utterly in love with their own inferiority and cannot bear to submit to or admit a higher reality. This desire to find fault, this malicious passion to criticize and doubt what something in oneself tells one is a higher reality, is the very stamp of humanity, marks out the merely human. Whenever, on the other hand, there is a spontaneous admiration for the true, the beautiful, the noble, there is something divine. There is something divine expressed. You should know for certain that it is the psychic being, the soul in you with which your physical consciousness comes in contact when your heart leaps out to worship and admire what you feel to be of a divine origin. The moment you are in front of what you feel to be such, you should be moved to tears of joy. It is the mean creature who stops to reflect. Yes, it is something great, but it would be worth admiring if it fell to my lot, if I were the happy possessor of this quality, the instrument of this superior manifestation. Our Divine Mother says, why should you bother about your ego when the main concern is that the divine should reveal itself wherever it wants, in whatever manner it chooses? You should feel fulfilled when it is thus expressed. You should be able to burst the narrow bounds of your miserable personality and soar up in unselfish joy. This joy is the true sign that your soul has awakened and has sensed the truth. It is only then that you can open to the influence of the descending truth and be shaped by it. I remember occasions when I used to be moved to tears on seeing even children, even babies, do something that was most divinely beautiful and simple. Feel that joy. Feel that joy, and you'll be able to profit by the divine's presence in your midst. Next topic, union with the divine consciousness and will. A divine mother says, the force which, when absorbed in the ignorance, takes the form of vital desires is the same which, in its pure form, constitutes the push, the dynamis towards transformation. Consequently, you must be aware at the same time of indulging freely in desires, thinking them to be needs which must be satisfied, and of rejecting the vital force as positively evil. What you should do is to throw the doors of your being wide open to the divine. The moment you conceal something, you step straight into falsehood. The least suppression of your part pulls you immediately down into unconsciousness. If you want to be fully conscious, be always in front of the truth. Completely open yourself and try your utmost to let it see deep inside you into every corner of your being. That alone will bring you into the light and consciousness and all that is most true. Be absolutely modest. That is to say, know the distance between what you are and what is to be, not allowing the crude physical mentality to think that it knows when it doesn't, that it can judge when it cannot. Modesty implies the giving up of yourself to the divine wholeheartedly, asking for help, and by submission, winning the freedom and absence of responsibility which imparts to the mind utter quietness. No, not otherwise can you hope to attain the union with the divine consciousness and the divine will. Of course, it depends on the path by which you approach the divine, whether the union with the consciousness comes first or with the will. If you go deep within, says our Divine Mother, if you go deep within, the former will naturally proceed. Whereas, if you take a standpoint in the universal moment, the later is likely to be realized first. But it is not quite possible to make a cut and dried generalization because the sadhana is a flexible and fluid thing, and also because the divine consciousness and will are very closely connected with each other, being two aspects of one single being. Take note, however, that the merely external similarity of your thought or action does not prove that this union has been achieved. All such proofs are superficial, for the real union means a thorough change, a total reversal of your normal consciousness. You cannot have it in your mind or in your ordinary state of awareness. You must clean out of that. Then, not till then, can you be united with the divine consciousness. Once the union is really experienced, the very idea of proving it by similarity of your thought and action with mine will make you laugh. A Divine Mother says, people living together in the same house for years or coming in a daily intimate contact with one another develop a sort of common mind. They think and act alike. But you cannot claim to be like the divine by such merely mental contact. You must consent to have your consciousness entirely reversed. The genuine sign of the union is that your consciousness has the same quality the same way of working as the divines and proceeds from the same supramental source of knowledge. That you sometimes happen to act in the external field as the divine appears to act may be nothing save coincidence, and to demonstrate the union by such comparisons is to try to prove a great thing, a very great thing, by a very small one. A Divine Mother says, the true test is the direct experience of the divine consciousness in whatever you do. It is an unmistakable test because it changes your being completely. Evidently, you cannot at once be fixed in the divine consciousness, but even before it settles in you, you can have now and then the experience of it. The divine consciousness will come and go, but while the union lasts, you will be as if somebody else. The whole universe will wear a new face, and you yourself, as well as your perception and vision of things, will be metamorphosed. So, as long as you lack the experience, you are inclined to look for proofs. Proofs and results are secondary. What the union fundamentally means is that in your consciousness you know more than a human being. It is all to the good. If owing to your acquiring a pure, calm, receptive mind, you manage to think and act in accordance with my intentions. But you must not mistake a step on the way for the final goal. For the chief difference between the positive union and mental receptivity is that I have to formulate what I want you to carry out and put the formula into your pure and calm mind, whereas in the case of actual union, I need not formulate at all. I just put the necessary true consciousness in you, and the rest automatically works out because it is I myself who are then in you. It is I myself who am then in you. I dare say it is all rather difficult for you to manage. The experience being well nigh indescribable. It is, however, less difficult to imagine the union of the will with the divine will. For you can manage a will which is effective without struggle and victoriously manifest everywhere. And if all your will tends to unite with it, then there is something approaching a union. That is to say, you begin to lose your separate egoistic will, and your being thirsts naturally to fulfill the divine's behest, and without knowing even what the supreme will is, wills exactly what the divine wishes. But this means an unquestioning acceptance of the higher guidance. The energy in you, which is deformed into vital desire, but which is originally the urge towards realization, must unite with the divine will so that all your power of violation mingles with it as a drop of water with the sea, no more than its weaknesses and failings, but evermore the supreme quality of the divine will, omnipotence. These are the words of our Divine Mother.